welcome back to the LEC as Fnatic defeated G2 in a best-of-5 series. And rekkles, I remember that a couple of weeks back you told me that you lost confidence after playing G2 in finals in spring. What does it mean to you to win today?
It means that we have a lot of confidence again.
I mean, this game 5 was crazy, really, and we know how usually these things go when you take a best-of-5 series to 5 games against G2. So explain to me, how did you feel going into this game 5 and also defending the base with only 2 players against G2 to finally take the win, like the mental fortitude you guys had to win this series? Tell me about it, especially this game 5.
Yeah, so as you said, like we've had a really tough time against G2 now for a very long time, basically since the loss of Caps. So it's really tough to play games against them, regardless if it's a best-of-5 or a best-of-1 in the regular season, or if it's game 5 of the series or game 1 of the series. It's just that much extra on top of it. I don't know how to explain it better than that, but it just feels like it's always something more that weighs down on you. So in this game 5, we were obviously, as you could probably tell, super stressed out. Like we're trying our best to win the game, but we could clearly tell as well that there were chances of losing. So then we started making some mistakes, and they got a couple of picks here and there, and then that led to the 2-man defense into, I think, Tim solo killing Caps up top and us getting the smite on Soul. So it was down to very, very small things, and I think it may as well have been us losing in the last game. So I don't want to take it out as like we dismantled them in this series, because I feel like it could have honestly gone either way. So I'm just happy that like we got to be a part of another banger, you know. It's always amazing.
I mean, yeah, a lot of mistakes here and there, but in the end you won, and I mean, it was a banger of a game indeed. I mean, Ender broke the shoutcast desk. I don't know if you saw on Twitter, but you're gonna see the pictures. Yeah, you see the video right now. Yeah, he actually broke the casting desk. That's how cool this game was. And I mean, let's talk a bit more about this series itself. 5 games, as we said. I want to talk about the bot lane, because we saw that G2 adapted throughout the series, banning Ez all the time, constantly, and prioritizing Senna. And then in game 4, they switched. They stopped banning Ez, which means that you have to ban Yuumi. And they start on picking Ashe, and then afterwards Senna. So talk me through the adaptation from Fnatic in the series, in the bot lane, regarding what G2 was doing.
So I think for us both this series, it was a lot about just surviving and making sure we could find use in the game. I feel like when Blue Side ban AD carries and they first pick AD carry as well, they will always get whatever they want, and you just kind of have to take what's left open. So in my case, that was sometimes Jhin, sometimes Senna. I didn't really get to choose. It was just whatever they wanted me to play, sort of, and then they could pick first, so they could like basically choose the matchup. And in that sense, I feel like then that puts us in a situation where we just need to survive. We need to find use in the game, and I think we did pretty well in that regard. I didn't play like superb or anything, but I feel like we always found use in the game, and I think that's honestly all we have to do when we have these kind of players. Like I don't need to be a carry in my team, so I'm more than happy to just take a backseat role.
That's interesting, actually. Who do you think was the best performing players in Fnatic tonight?
I think everyone had their moments, but our style revolves a lot around Oscar, so I feel like he's an easy choice. I feel like, I mean, we give him the resources, so on one hand you could say it's easy for him, but on the other hand I feel like there's not a lot of players that can, first of all, make use of the resources, but second of all, also ask for them. I feel like it's a very undervalued thing to have in a team, someone asking for resources and basically like making you feel like if you give them anything, they will like take the game for you. So everyone's playing for win, and I think then it's like really easy to just like revolve around Oscar, and I think in this case he played super well with everything we gave him.
Now we've been through every aspect of Fnatic. You will play in the grand finals next week, and I mean, you got the confidence back, which is good. So what can we expect from Fnatic in this next series you will have?
You can probably expect another banger. I feel like it's not going to be possible to go around that whenever we face G2. Not only for the fact that there's this extra I talked about earlier, but also for the fact that they're just insanely good at the game. I don't know how it looks from the outside, like on the series, because I haven't read anything yet or rewatched the games. But my feeling in the games was, as I said earlier, like it could have gone either way. And even the games we were winning, or either the games they were winning, it was always like the losing teams were still doing stuff. I guess in our cases we were doing less than they were when we were losing our games, but still, like, it's always close and it's always a banger. And I just think, yeah, you can't really expect anything else if we were to face them in the finals, that is.
That is what we love the most about Fnatic and G2, and I'm glad you love it also. So please give us like five games next time you face them, and otherwise I will see you next week. Anyway, thank you very much, Rekkles, for the interview, and
Thanks
congrats on winning against G2 tonight.
Thank you so much.
And we're going to take one last break, and we'll come back in this studio with the rekkles, Shox, and bwipo for PGL. Stay tuned, guys.
Welcome everyone to the LEC post-game lobby. I'm Shox, joined here by rekkles and bwipo. It's been like 10 minutes and I'm still so like giddy and excited about that series as a whole. So bwipo, I mean, are you still feeling the jitters? And tell me what happened in those last minutes.
I think I started to calm down a little bit now. I don't know what happened. I don't know what to tell you. I mean, I think we were in a winning position, and then I threw, and then I was hoping someone in G2 would do the same, and then thank you, Caps.
Oh, I mean, does it feel a little good that it was Caps?
No, honestly, not at all. I think they played a really good series, and Caps, like in that game, I think he pulled off some really, really sick plays. So honestly, like, I don't want to blame anyone. It was more of a joke. Like, I think it was just a really solid series, and I think everyone played their heart out, and I think that's not something you can usually say about a series. Like, everyone had ups and downs, let me put it that way. It wasn't like someone was consistently beating their lane opponent. I feel like everybody in the game got their chance to shine at some point, and that's what I like the most.
I think I have so many gameplay questions that, like, for specific games that just feel not important at all now in the context of this day. So I just got to know, like, does it feel like a weight lifted off your shoulders to know that this 5-man lineup can beat this 5-man G2 squad?
Oh, of course. I mean, it's always a relief to know that you can beat the best team in your region, or formerly best team. I don't think we can quite assume that we're the best now. We still have a finals to win. But yeah. Oh, that's mean thing.
Oh, yeah, we selected that.
Hey, I did a lot of damage, no? Not
yeah.
bad, look at Perks. He's confused. He's like, what just happened?
Tell me about tell me about kind of the final moments, because, at every moment looked like you guys should have won, and then, like, there was the Perks kind of backdoor, there was Caps trying to pick you guys off. Were you on your toes until the last second?
Absolutely. I mean, even right now, we felt like this was the winning fight because they all burned their flashes, but then Caps came in with a huge flank and almost, like, basically deleted our whole team, and me and Selfmade ran out of damage. But even at the end right here, like, Nemesis was really, really ahead of the curve and was waiting with the culling. I was looking with the Gangplank ult, and we just, took care of him. And yeah, I don't know, it was crazy as hell. Like, I think at the very end when we got the Ocean Soul, we knew, like, rekkles, like, rallied the team, and he was like, guys, it's really won. Give it, just play it out, please. He was like, please, guys, please.
Oh, so I love that.
That's what I remember right now. Just like, please.
rekkles being like,
we can win 100% here.
We haven't won a best of 5 since spring 2018 versus G2. Please close this out. Yeah, by the way, that in itself, bwipo, as rekkles said about the weight lifted off your shoulders, but not being able to beat a team, the team that's the best, by the way, since spring 2018, that must just mess with your confidence.
I mean, honestly, not really. Like, yeah, I don't think it really messes. Like, not with mine at least, but I think that's a bit my issue. Sometimes I get overconfident. Even in this series, we saw a lot of that. But I think what's nice is just being reminded that we have the right idea. It's not really like a confidence breaker. It's more like you second guess some of the things you're doing. I think when you're the best team in the region, you don't second guess. You're just, we're the best. This is what we do, and anyone that wants to beat us will have to come to us and challenge us, rather than we're thinking of plans to challenge G2.
When it comes to kind of a question about the style and the approach to the games, of course, last week we saw you guys kind of finding the solution. That's not me. Finding the solution in that, you got the carry junglers than the farming junglers for self-made AP junglers rather, and you know it all worked out. It seemed like you were pushed picks and bans wise in this one. How much do you feel G2 pushed your buttons when it comes to draft specifically?
Honestly, not that much. I'll be honest. I think that they were happy with what they got, and they ended up giving us what we wanted. So even though it wasn't like AP junglers and whatnot, like it was the Hecarim in this particular series, but he fulfills a similar role, right? Like a champion that gets really big. The more he can farm, the more gold he can obtain, the more levels he can get, the bigger he's gonna get. So we just like rolled with the Hecarim until it got banned, and then we adapted our style.
So we heard about this a little bit at the start of the day from some of the staff in your organization, but I also kind of want to get your take on it as well, because it has been such a massive turnaround from Fnatic. Because last week it felt like you guys were winning, it was very scrappy, and it felt like it was this Lucian mid and, you know, like AP jungler, and that kind of felt like it's all it was. And now it feels like the style has once again, week to week, evolved in what you've shown here. What is it that's allowing you to progress so rapidly in terms of development compared to the regular season, where we look back, you guys were 9-9, it was like barely scraping into playoffs, and now suddenly you're on top of the world. What has actually prompted this incredible meteoric rise of this Fnatic squad?
Individuals. I think that the individuals stepping up and like everyone's demanding something, and we all find a solution at some point. That's the best way I can really describe it. Like, for example, Selfmade is like, I really want to play carry junglers, and everyone was like, yeah, I mean, we feel like that's going to be the best for our team, right? Because when we were playing the set and all, it worked, but we didn't feel like it was that consistent. So we decided, you know what, let's just play our style, let's just do what our players are really good at. And that comes from the individual standpoint, right? The people from, like, it comes from within the team, from the players, like, I want to do this, and then you have, you know, everyone giving their suggestions on how to make that style work, or how to potentially get their take on how we should be playing the game, right? So in this case, we all rallied around the idea of Selfmade on the carry junglers, and then everyone plays their part in that. But for all we know, you know, next week it'll be different if we don't feel like that's the best way of going. But for now, I think it's shown us some great success.
It absolutely has. He's also the key player of the series, Selfmade with 77% of the votes. And now, when we talk about Oscar and kind of the context of this Fnatic, I think if you take a step back, you realize that, you know, it is a big adjustment to bring this jungler into this lineup just at the beginning of this year, and we were expecting rapid results, but it seems like now, finally, at this point in summer, all of these relationships with Selfmade in the team and all the kind of puzzle pieces are clicking in a whole different way. Do you feel that that's been kind of the trend of the last couple of weeks, or am I off here?
I mean, we're clicking, but like I said, I think everyone's finding what works for them and what works in the grand scheme of things at the same time. So it's a matter of, like, in a way, we're finding the puzzle pieces necessary. It's just a matter of we're putting them together one by one. So, like, for example, the champion pool I'm playing, the champion pool mid lane's playing, and the champion pool jungle's playing. We have to make sure that we have the right mix of damage and the champions synergize well and whatnot. And we're slotting in one by one on these picks and making sure that we have, you know, an actual coherent comp, which is something that, for example, game 4, you saw a struggle in, right, where we ended up picking Camille, and then Kassadin, Hecarim, and then, like, they had Taric, right, and then it's like we have Camille, Hecarim into Taric, and we're like, oh, you know, like, Jesus, that's rough, you know, like, that was a really good pick. So that was an example of, like, we probably should have taken away the Shen and not gave him Shen Taric, which was, like, obviously great counters to Hecarim, right? And that's an example of something that we can do much better still.
A small question about that, because I did have the feeling in especially that game and maybe some of the others as well, that there were a lot of points where you ended up losing important moments of the game, but it was so close. It was like you couldn't last hit someone, or rekkles couldn't last hit someone, or for some reason they pulled someone away because of, as you say, those mechanics. I mean, I would have tilted. How tilt-proof is this Fnatic? Apparently very.
I don't think so. Like, honestly, like, the thing about these series is, like, I think the best way to describe it is we've reached a point where there is not much difference between being tilted and not tilted, because we're leaning more towards playing the way we would play when we're tilted. So I guess our secret is that we're always tilted or something like that. I'm sure you can make that joke, but it's not that bad, obviously. It's just I feel like I said, everyone found their own style, tries to do their own thing, what works for us, right? And that means that even when you're tilted, you can just autopilot your way through because you're so used to doing it all the time.
I mean, it was a great series and it was a great victory. Does mean that you guys are moving on to the final, and G2 will of course face the winner of Rogue versus Mad Lions. I do want to ask you kind of about your feelings about G2 after this, because maybe with other opponents you would say, well, we beat them once, so that's it. But I have an inkling that with G2, that's not the same. How do you feel they'll be able to rebound? Do you think they will, first off, versus Rogue or Mad Lions? And how much stronger they could be once you meet them in the finals?
I would assume that they're going to make it to the finals. Based on what I've seen, I feel like G2 right now, the first game coming into our series, they came in with a Lilia, right? Trying to match the scaling jungle, try to, play a fast-paced jungler that clears jungle fast, gets very far ahead, profits from items, profits from experience, but didn't quite work out. And then they relied on the set to, really get the early game going, and they did manage to do that a couple of times. And I feel like teams like Mad and Rogue might struggle to answer G2 in that specific situation. And obviously, thanks to some great fortune on our side as well, we were able to handle G2 in that sense. But I don't feel like our early games were perfect by any means, and I think G2 threw at least game 3 out of the window. I'll give you that much.
Absolutely.
So if they didn't do that, we wouldn't be talking here. So I wouldn't really say that G2 is quite there, but I would say that if anything, I suspect that they're going to try and change up some of the picks, some of the meta, especially in the jungle for them, because obviously Set was a huge reason why their early games were going well, and I think from their perspective, they're thinking what can we do when Set is out? Because I feel like G2 with Set and without Set are actually a very huge difference from what I've seen, at least even on other teams, against other teams. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so for you, bwipo, how much of an advantage do you think that you have coming into the next best of 5, getting to watch at least one more best of 5 with G2, if that is who you're going to play? Because it feels like even in the context of the series, we heard Laura ask rekkles about it earlier, but there was a lot of evolution in draft in terms of what teams were prioritizing. You talked about it in the jungle picks as well. So because you're now sitting in finals, does it feel like it's going to be really easy for the Fnatic lineup to dissect exactly what G2 is trying to do? Or do you feel like you're going to come in just like you did today with maybe, I don't know, kind of a blank slate in terms of what to expect in draft?
I mean, honestly, I feel like they put all their cards on the table today. It was obvious, once the Set LeBlanc rotation worked for them the first time, they committed to it in Game 5. So I feel like that was their, that was them committing to that style. That was them being this is our best. I could be wrong, of course, and, who knows, Lulucog coming again. Nightmares of that still. I'm kidding. I'm just saying, last time we faced G2 in the finals, very different style all of a sudden. I imagine that it's possible that they're going to take a similar approach because obviously, they just lost, so maybe they should try something else. And in the very, very late games, it wasn't really a whitewash, right? The first game, I feel like the first and second game was actually more of a story of Akali into Orianna, and the Akali never really got going on either side, and Orianna kind of made fun of Akali at some point and just killed everyone else. So I feel like that kind of set the tone for late game being rather important in our series, and I think that that's something that G2 will definitely revise as well from their perspective. How valuable is late game for us, and how much do we trust ourselves to play such an early game comp again? Because even in the LeBlanc Set games, the LeBlanc was showing up doing significant amounts of damage in the late game team fights. So
yeah, I mean,
I think late game is still going to be a huge deal.
Yeah, I mean, Caps
It's
LeBlanc
pretty
is
good.
no
It's
slouch. And, I tried to bait you there earlier, but of course I have endless respect for Caps. And we have to remember he was playing out of his mind for most of that series once again. And I think that's where, with G2, they went down to the lower bracket last split also, let me remind people. And they took that as an opportunity to shore up everything. Drakos, I'm just going to ask you a question. How much do you think we're going to see a repeat of that?
I mean, I think that the thing that you're most scared of is exactly what bwipo talked about, where G2 just showed up in the finals and they're like, we play Lulucog now.
Yes,
Enchantress
that's
supports
it.
are the thing. Or this is it's almost a complete and total meta swap out of anything we had ever seen before. And I think that's the big fear for Fnatic. But for the rest of the teams, yeah, I think G2, now it's nose to the grindstone. Now it's back against the wall, so every game is going to matter. We obviously saw, God, it feels so long ago now, but Game 3, where it felt like a very, G2 decided
Today,
game.
yeah.
Today. And then G2 threw it away. And I don't think we're going to see another game like that. Now, of course, Fnatic punished beautifully. Maybe Mad or Rogue would not be able to do the same thing. But I don't think we're going to see that version of G2 ever again on the stage until, maybe they're 2-1 up in another series.
Yeah, I mean, it's just so interesting. This development is just, if you follow kind of, I think, the story of playoffs, this is just a great thing from a spectator perspective, right? And tomorrow we'll be closing out the week. We still have another best 5. Rogue versus Mad Lions, 2 of the new top teams in the LEC, who now really have to prove themselves. bwipo, they were number 1, but now, you know, you guys in G2 said, hey, did you forget about us? What do you think we're going to see from Rogue and Mad tomorrow?
It's gonna be hard to tell. I think honestly, Mad Lions have kind of a so I feel like Mad Lions are very similar but different. And the way I would say that is because I feel like Shadow is leaning more towards the Lilia farming up, getting big, and Inspired is still sticking to the set more and having Larson play the Azir, whereas Mad is playing more Galio, more Akali, trying to get some early game going from the mid lane position, and the jungler is trying to scale up a bit more. Maybe that's just specifically with Lilia. We saw the Hecarim as well, so I think in that idea is going to be a clash of mid jungle mostly, right? Like see how far ahead the early game champion can get of the scaling counterpart and play it out from there. Because I think the side lanes are pretty evenly matched in my opinion. I think still really good, but I don't think anything special is going to happen there.
Quick prediction?
I would 3-1 Rogue. That's my take. It will heavily depend on how much Mad Lions are able to adapt, and my prediction is purely based off the fact that I think that Lilia will get banned and Shadow will struggle to find similar advantages on the Hecarim, for example.
It's cool to hear someone finally predict in favor of Rogue, too, because it's a team that consistency has been their big strength, but whenever we talk about them compared to other top teams, they never feel like they're number 1s on anyone's list, so good to have that as well. I still feel, though, at the same time, you're right, Shadow, I think probably less reliable as Inspired outside of those situations where he has the Lee Sin, where he has the Lilia from what we saw in the series last week, but I can't... Maybe it's just because I've been watching too many Fnatic G2 games, but Kaiser's a playmaker, and I'm a sucker for a playmaker, so I'm gonna say 3-1 Mad. It's not gonna be a clean series by any means, but I gotta give the edge to the Lions.
Let's see. We've been spoiled already today. I hope we are tomorrow as well. Gonna take a quick selfie with bwipo before we send you guys off. We still miss you at the studio. We know we're not gonna see you next week, so we need to get our selfies in. This time I will remember my right from my left, which I didn't yesterday. It's not that hard, Shocks. All right. Here we go. Cheers. Not cheers.
Cheers.
I mean, cheers for your series, I guess.
Right.
I meant
got
cheers.
there.
Anyway, thank you so much, bwipo. We're going to let you go. Congratulations on a fantastic series.
Thank you very
versus Cloud9 for a spot at Worlds. Hopefully also 5 games. And we'll be back tomorrow for Rogue versus the Mad Lions. See you then.